I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Cindy Lou Who.
And this is Out of Office, a dad Christmas joke podcast.
Merry Christmas. Is this seat taken, Rudolph? Then I was Santa in that version.
Yeah, that was
Ryan,
good.
Oh my gosh. Well, first, Merry Christmas. This is our special Christmas Spectacular episode, third annual. Also should be recognized as the anniversary of our tagline because that was introduced on Christmas 2 years ago,
2018,
on our first spectacular.
This is our third Christmas spectacular. You just said that, but I'm baffled. I know. How did a year go by so fast?
It's pretty shocking. I actually just had some outreach from a fan saying, I can't believe how long you guys have been on. This is great. I'm going through the back catalog, and thank you for reaching out. I really appreciate that.
That was a fan. That wasn't somebody who was upset. I can't believe how long
is still going
you've
on.
Been
That's
on.
True. It's email. So I'm not. You're right. I can't be sure about the tone. Obviously, we call it the Christmas Spectacular because each of us celebrate Christmas, but it's happy holidays for all.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the holiday spectacular.
And this is it's a special episode each year where we actually, while we do end up talking about global traditions, international traditions on Christmas.
I don't think we do that very much. Do we?
We don't. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we do. For sure.
I mean, in the show.
While we do talk about international traditions around Christmas, and sometimes we talk about places we've been or we're going, this is really an episode to focus on the holiday, not on travel itself. This might be the one that doesn't feed your spirit of wanderlust as much. It's just feeding your spirit of Christmas.
Well, the great thing about Christmas is that it's inside of you,
Sorry.
You don't have to travel for it because Christmas is just within you. It's a spirit. It's a what is the German word for the spirit of Christmas? Like wanderlust, but Christmas.
Oh, that's interesting.
Christmas
I bet
lust.
there is a word for that. Let's see. Yeah. German word for Christmas spirit. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, Ryan, there is a German word for Christmas spirit. This is, just Google Translate helping us out. And it's called Weihnachtsgeist. if that doesn't put you in the mood.
That reminds me of drinking that was it Glühwein?
What is that?
The German hot wine. Yeah, that you drink walking around Berlin's Christmas village. I've gotten to do that.
It's interesting that you say that because, we're already jumping into Christmas so much. I do think it's important.
It is a Christmas episode. So
while we don't do the last stop traditionally on the Christmas episode, we do the takeoff. Ryan, we got to tell the cabin crew.
Flight attendants?
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
All right, Ryan. So now we
had trouble taking off. I don't
know. now we're properly in the episode. God, it feels like you and I have been hitting the nog, and we are recording pretty early in the day. You actually, in bringing up the mulled wine, you did remind me. One of my sort of life goals is that I would like to go to Germany during Christmas time because I understand these Christmas markets that they have in Germany are just a real joy. Feels to me like last year on the Christmas Spectacular, I made the case for why ornaments are a great souvenir. They fit all the 3 Ps of souvenirs. They are highly potent of the place that you've been. The price is right, and they're very portable. And then you get to relive your travel each year as you decorate your tree. And I understand that these German markets are just they have a bevy of ornaments to choose from.
Yeah, and the one that I went to, and when I was in Berlin in Christmas, this is years ago. They have this old Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church. And so the basically the whole little Christmas village is right in the sort of shadow of this old church. It's quite lovely.
But Ryan, there are you and I have each found ways, even in this quarantine year, to celebrate Christmas and to try to take in some local sites in the form of outdoor Christmas lights.
Outdoor Christmas lights, absolutely, a wonderful tradition that I feel like every city has that neighborhood or that place that has sort of the great Christmas lights.
Totally.
You know, when I was a kid, growing up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, there was this one neighborhood called Nithsdale. I'm adding that as Nithsdale. It was very, very fancy, but built out of town.
Very fancy. So did you grow up in Nithsdale?
No, I didn't. I grew up outside of Nithsdale, but Nithsdale was, every house looked exactly the same, just really big houses. They probably like 4 or 5 they could pick from a book, but they're all big. And they did the best Christmas lights. And I remember as a kid driving through Nithsdale and getting to see those Christmas lights. So, in that spirit, I thought it would be a good idea for us in this episode to approach our new hometowns of New York. And you live in
I'm in Somerville.
You're in Somerville.
Which because you were here like a week ago. So I don't know why you're pretending that you don't know. But absolutely. And I think it's funny because people might not immediately think of New York as having Christmas lights, but au contraire, there are quite a few great places in New York to see Christmas lights. And I think this year, above all, this has become quite a popular pastime because we can't get out of the places that we live.
Yeah, exactly. I had never heard about this Christmas display before, but then, when I was kind of looking for things to do on a kind of strangely warm December evening.
I don't want to see Christmas lights when it's warm. I want to be, miserable, right, in like a giant coat and boots that I could, just my eyes are peeking out of the scarves.
Well, it's funny when I was reading the articles on, it was like Untapped New York and Time Out about how to prepare to go to this, to look at these lights.
Yeah.
It was all like, you'll be freezing, your phone will shut off because it'll be so cold. Make sure you bring also, for us, it was like 60 degrees out.
For you and me, we love cold weather. So that would actually be the much more ideal scenario. I hate when it gets above like 40 at this time of year. I hate it.
Yeah, it made the hot chocolate we picked up. It seemed like an unnecessary accessory, but it felt like we needed it. Yeah.
It feels like you need to keep doing that, right? Yeah. Or else it doesn't feel like Christmas time.
Yeah. In 20 years, it's going to be like 75 degrees. We're going to be walking around in our Christmas.
Now, I am curious, before you jump in, and you've talked about what you used to go view as a child, did your family hang Christmas lights at your house?
Yeah. So my dad, as you know, was
a carpenter and a builder.
Exactly.
That's right. I remember from a previous Christmas spectacular that he actually carved his own creche.
Creche is a
nativity scene. Oh my God.
Yes.
Ryan, we did like an hour.
Oh my God. I know. It just came back to me in a flood of morning memories here. Yes, a creche, a nativity scene. But he also carved a life-size Rudolph and the reindeer and Santa.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that he hung up on a barn that we had. So it went up the barn. So
this is state that you grow up on. I'm always hearing it like grow. You had a barn. He
only really did it good a couple years. Yeah.
For all your livestock that you keep out in the barn?
No, it was mostly just my dad's equipment in the barn.
Now, here's a question I have. You have talked about your dad as a builder, a creator, a woodsman. I don't know if they call themselves woodsmen.
A woodsman, yeah.
And yet, I beg you, can you source a picture of maybe this Rudolph and Santa, and we could put it up on the Instagram?
I thought we sourced a picture of the crest last year. Did we not?
I think you said you would, and then you didn't manage it. We're
gonna get. Yeah, he also does a lot. This is an advertisement. He does a little wooden toys situation that we can link to. Yeah, that we can link to.
Now, I don't know if you've heard, but I have a child.
Yeah, well, I think my mom sent you something. It's 50% chance it's one of my dad's wooden toys that's coming in the mail.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what else she would send, so we'll see.
Well, when he was born, she sent me socks with the crucifix on it. But that's sort of the end of Jesus's life, not the beginning. So maybe it'll be socks with like a little manger.
I look at it as the new beginning, but that's however you want to, Kiernan.
All right. So where did you end up taking in the Christmas lights in Brooklyn?
So there was this neighborhood called Dyker Heights in Brooklyn, which is deep in Trump country. It's in red Brooklyn.
There's red Brooklyn?
Oh yeah. So this is a neighborhood that was predominantly Russian and Italian near sort of Bay Ridge, which is sort of the very Russian neighborhood. And if you look at a map of the election results, it is one of the handful of little pockets of Brooklyn that still goes red. So, that is just some context here, but the neighborhood itself is full of sort of McMansions, of varying degrees of taste. So there are some that are very tasteful, mansions, and some that are sort of kind of big, tacky, kind of spectacular things in a not a positive way necessarily. So the neighborhood is sort of fun because it gives you both the sort of mansion look, gawking, along with this sort of display of Christmas lights that began in the 1980s, and has become something now that is such a part of the Dyker Heights identity as a community that, participation levels are really, really high. So in this sort of 6-block radius, pretty much everybody's got some kind of really impressive holiday decorations. And you notice when you're walking around this neighborhood that there were these little signs for Christmas decorating companies, and these families spend up to $20,000 a year decorating their.
Oh, I don't like this. I feel like the misery of putting up the lights is a big part of the experience.
Yeah, the complexity of the lights in some of these situations would make it impossible for like a dad to do on a weekend. So clearly, there's some
or a mom,
a parent, or a grandparent to do, or anyone, a single, anyone to do on the weekend.
Ryan, you got to break out of these traditional ways.
I know.
I think
fair.
because you were in the red neighborhood, you sort of reverted. But it's 2020.
Yeah,
anybody can hang lights.
Look, the reporting about this event, it says that most of the families do not hang their own lights, and if you look at the complexity of them, it's apparent. It's apparent. I mean, there's this one sort of big white. It looks like the White House, this big house, and just had all these gorgeous all white lights, but an abundance of all white lights in every possible tree. And their gazebo. They have a gazebo. They live in New York, and they have an outdoor gazebo. This gives you an idea of the neighborhood. Everything it was beautifully done, and that would have taken. I can't even imagine. How long that would have taken. So. It's a very, they take it incredibly seriously. And so there's a couple mansions that are the most popular. And these run on 84th and 11th Avenue and 12th Avenue. We'll put this in the show notes. But there was some family drama, and I have not been able to figure it out this year. But there was this one mansion that was owned by this guy named Alfred Palacio. And he used to do a massive... And I read about this in the last couple of years, even in the Wikipedia. So he's been doing this for a very, very long time. A massive sort of nutcracker theme at his really interesting but sort of tacky McMansion that has a big P in it for Palazzo. But and he apparently died 10 years ago, and all the latest reporting from the last couple of years said the family kept it up. Well, this year. Nothing on the house. One of the only of the major houses that had no decorations, all in the dark. So, the one of the what was considered one of the best houses in the neighborhood did not decorate this year. I wonder if it is for sale. So I wonder if the new owners will, take up the mantle.
I have to think there'd be a lot of social pressure, and it sounds to me if you're spending up to $20,000, that there's probably some spoken or unspoken competition.
Oh, I think there's very real competition. Yeah. I mean, and you can tell the difference. There's like the houses that go for it that are just like, there's this one house where there isn't even an inch left. It's unclear how the people get into the house because they have to navigate through, a Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a Christmas. It's like the island of misfit toys threw up in this very small New York City. I don't know that it's lovely, but it is intense, and that's one of the more popular. So you're like, how did the family even get in there?
So this is Dyker Heights. Is that the name of the neighborhood again?
Yeah, Dyker Heights.
Dyker.
And you can drive and you can take the train. Parking was a bit of a nightmare. I wouldn't recommend driving around to see the lights just because there's so much traffic. It's much more fun to either park or take an Uber, take the train and walk around the neighborhood if you can, because you get to see a lot more and you won't have the stress of sort of the car and honking and everything.
And was there tons of people doing this?
A lot of families, absolutely. Yeah. And it pretty much goes from sundown till 9 p.m. is when the lights officially go off.
Oh, the lights go off.
Well, Kieran, apparently, like they call this Con Ed's little miracle because of how much money these folks spend lighting their houses. Mm-hmm. So this is not like, you're hanging out a couple of row of lights and you're calling it a day. I mean, to light this 24 hours, it's like, it's like a casino or something. I mean, it's like, I can only imagine how much
they're spending $20,000 on the design. I think they're going to do okay on the electric bill.
Well, maybe they care about the environment. They only want, anyway. So that is your cue, though. Try to get there by 9. They also probably just don't want strangers wandering around the neighborhood at 10:30 at night. I mean, it was a pretty crowded affair.
So so that Dyker Heights in Brooklyn sounds like a great experience. Now, this is the first year that Catherine and I are living in Somerville, which is it is basically a borough of Boston. So it's like right across the river from Boston, Cambridge, Somerville. I always think of them as kind of the like Brooklyn, Queens. It's like the outer post of the Manhattan of Boston, for example. And this year, the boy is old enough that he can be up later and can kind of appreciate things a little bit more. So we were looking for where can we take him for holiday lights in the neighborhood. And the Somerville Arts Council calls out this one street particularly, and they have a whole tour for anybody that's in the area. And we did a little bit longer than just this street, but there's a street that is fittingly known as Electric Avenue. And this is pretty much.
Wasn't that a children's show in the 80s?
That's the Electric Company.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Surely related, though. And Electric Avenue, it sounds like maybe the polar opposite of what you describe, as opposed to these like perfectly curated, professionally done houses. These are light displays that look, they're gauche and big, and it is hard to find an organizing principle about them. It's white lights with colored lights, with blinking lights, with inflatables, and there's a baby Yoda, and then there's a Santa, and then there's a giant teddy bear with a Santa hat. And it is just like, a classic Christmas American mayhem, I would say, on these lawns. But if you're desperate for something to do in the neighborhood, it is a pretty good way to see it. And I do wonder. I can't say that I would ever decorate my house in that way, but I do find something very charming about people who it's purely about the enthusiasm and not about the design.
I love. I mean, the enthusiasm is part of the joy of Christmas, right? That's
exactly right.
Yeah.
But I think you see this even when in how people choose to decorate their own Christmas trees. You see this choice. Where is it? A thoughtfully curated? Is it going to look like straight out of a magazine, or is it going to be something that's more family and it's more about the warmth and the history that goes into it, and the ornaments that you've accumulated over the years? That I sort of see a reflection of that in these outdoor displays.
I love seeing the more personal displays, and one of the things that you notice when you're looking at a lot of displays is some of them are very paint by numbers, and then some people clearly have like things that they have put out for years that are part of their display, and that's always really cool to see. I mean, so you walk by some family that's gotten some massive blow up Peanuts characters that clearly are brand new out of the box, and that's like their contribution. And then some families that have like really cool, intricate, strange creches, outdoor creches. That have clearly been part of their displays for probably 50 years. So that's like that's special when you get to see something that isn't just sort of out of the box.
Well, actually, and that's where I want to end the talk around the display, the how decorating segment, which is I want to call out this place that if you're anywhere near New Haven and Connecticut during the holidays, this is well worth a stopover, and it's one of these local treasures that I think it's known in the area, but it doesn't get the credit that it deserves, which is it's a farm called Beaumont Farm, Beaumont Farm, and it's in my hometown of Wallingford, Connecticut. And this is a farm. It's right off the highway, exit 14 off 91. And it's got a corner plot so that lots of traffic goes by it. And each year they choose a theme and spend it has to be spent the entire year sculpting, sewing, and creating special decorations outside. So past years have been A Christmas Story, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Frozen, and they make these life-size or larger than life-size characters, and they invite people to come and take pictures with them. And the craftsmanship is absolutely unbelievable. And this year's theme is a Charlie Brown Christmas. And they have sewn the characters, they've set up the ice rink, they've got the decorated dog house. I will post a link to them in the show notes, and I will put some of the pictures up on the Instagram too, which is at OOO podcast, like at ooh podcast. And it is unbelievable how much attention to detail they put into these. So absolutely well worth the stopover if you get a chance.
And these are custom. This is not like out of the box stuff.
That's what it's funny that you chose Peanuts as the example of the out of the box, because you will see these are hand created by a group of volunteers and by the Beaumont family. And there's a wonderful picture, particularly of like a Linus and Sally. And you will really see the homemade quality. I think it is all the more charming for it.
Oh, that's a great recommendation.
No, Ryan, it's another tradition here on the Holiday Spectacular that we each bring a song that we're thinking about and valuing this Christmas, that feeds the spirit of Christmas, or I forget the German word, the Weihnachtsstimmung within us. So it's a little bit related to the last stop. It's like the Christmas stop. It's like Santa's last stop. And you and I have
Santa's last stop. That sounds like a depressing Hallmark film.
And you and I have each prepared and brought a song that we want to just quickly play a clip of and then discuss just for a few minutes. So I'll ask you, Ryan, what song did you bring this year that's feeding the spirit of within you?
So I was in Dyker Heights last week,
sure.
And a car drove by, and it was nice enough to be playing Christmas music. And one of the songs, I was like, wait a minute, is that Snoop Doggy Dogg? And it was. And Snoop Dogg and Anna Kendrick apparently put out for Pitch Perfect 2. I mean, this is like, there's a lot of things happening to make this song come together.
Yeah.
A combination Winter Wonderland, Here Comes Santa Claus. And you know what? It is quite lovely. And it has been, I've listened to it quite a few times since I heard it that night first. So here's a little bit of, here's what we're legally allowed to allow you to listen to.
We're still questioning whether it's legal, but
yeah. And we will link to the full YouTube in the show notes.
A beautiful sight. We're happy tonight. Walking in a winter wonderland.
Here comes Santa Claus. Here comes Santa Claus. Right down Santa Claus Lane.
okay.
Isn't that a fun take? A fun take on some classics?
I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist as far as it goes. But, I could see myself tapping a toe to it. Sure.
Look, I think last year I did Bowie. This year I did Snoop Dogg. It's
Yeah, you're bringing it further. You're bringing it closer to modern times.
That's true.
I don't find many modern Christmas songs really ring true to me. I mean, I think the only one that's really made it into the canon in our lifetimes has been All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Well, yeah, which based on my reading is like absurdly popular in ways that are hard to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't find it hard to understand. I find it quite charming.
Yeah, it is super charming. I mean, how much of that is tied to Love Actually in that great moment at the end there?
I hate to say this, but we've discussed this. I remember this point because you thought it was from that, and I was like, no way, it's from like 20 years before that.
Well, that marks its ascent. I think if you did a study, and you looked at the radio plays, that would be it. But we don't need to unpack that.
All right, Ryan. Well, you chose a song that was super modern. My song. It actually ties again back to, this is a time when we think back to our childhoods and to the places that we grew up. That always comes up with us on the Christmas Spectacular. Have you ever heard a song? It's a novelty song. It's a little bit of a classic around the area where I grew up. It's called Dominick the Donkey.
I have never heard this song though.
So it's
Dominick the Donkey. Your town couldn't get the rights to Rudolph. They were like, what about Dominick?
It is Rudolph adjacent. Here, let's listen to a clip, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about it.
When Santa visits his paisans with Dominick he'll be, because the reindeer cannot climb the hills of Italy. Hey, jingity jing, it's Dominick the donkey, jingity jing.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's got, but it is catchy. It's a real earworm. And the reason that it gets played a lot near where I grew up was there's a ton of Irish and Italian immigrants really filled up these towns. And when you browse through the Wallingford phone book, you're still getting a lot of, Sullivans and Lucianos.
Sure.
Just to choose two generic versions. And Dominick the donkey was extremely popular in the 1960s among Italian immigrant groups. And it was created by a man named Luigi Scaglione, who grew up in New York City. And he's known as the godfather of Italian humor and the king of Italian American music. Okay. And he basically made his career putting out novelty songs to cater to Italian Americans. And some of these hits include Peppino the Italian Mouse, okay? And Dominick is Dominick the Italian Christmas donkey. And the story that comes across in the song is that when Rudolph can't deliver and, Santa needs somebody who can really take him to town, he calls Dominick the Italian Christmas donkey. And it has just become a tradition for the radio stations to play this at Christmas time. And it is one of my mother's most beloved Christmas songs.
Well, I hope that your mother enjoys the shout out on this episode.
Let me see if there's any other. Oh, and I'm also happy to say, Ryan, while this song came out in 1960, there was in 2016 a two-part children's book series, A New Home for Dominick and A New Family for Dominick, that kept the Dominick the donkey alive for Italian immigrants today. We'll link to that song in the show notes. And I was also interested in learning during the research for this episode, Ryan, that there is a sequel to Dominick the donkey that was written just in 2018. It's called Dominucci, and it talks about Dominick the donkey's Italian Christmas son donkey taking over for Dominick. So this is a family business at this point.
I thought donkeys couldn't breed for some reason.
All right. Well, if donkey husbandry doesn't get you in the mood for Christmas, I don't know what will. No, Ryan, I would suggest that now we move on to
sorry. Offspring of female horses and male donkey are sterile. But
you're thinking of mules, I think.
Yeah, but the jacks can reproduce. Yeah, okay.
Please do not compare Dominick the donkey to a sterile mule. Okay, that's very offensive to my
Dominick
people.
Clearly was not sterile. He was out there. He was out there.
Very offensive to my people.
Yeah.
Actually, I like the idea.
He was a stud in the classic sense of the word.
I like the idea of a song about Dominick the donkey crossbreeding with a reindeer to create some sort of Santa super creature.
Yeah, I think that sounds very...
All right, I'll start putting pen to paper.
Hallmark needs 35 movies a year, so...
Actually, that's not a bad idea for next year. We can do a bit of a chat about Hallmark movies.
Yeah, we were planning to talk about Dolly but you couldn't even get through it.
I mean, it was bad. All right, Ryan. Now it comes to our final piece of the Christmas spectacular, which really makes it spectacular. What is Christmas without a nice Christmas exchange between the two of us, right? And we started the tradition in our first year that we would send each other an ugly Christmas ornament, the worst ornament that we could find for each other. And I take my tree very, very seriously. And so these are a real pall on the tree as a whole. But I always look forward to seeing what you could cook up.
Yeah, so I went sort of traditional this year, Kiernan, and I wanted to get you something that spoke to one of your first loves, Teddy Roosevelt, and Christmas. What I liked about this particular Teddy is that it is handmade out of felt.
Well, hold on. Before you ruin it, let me open it up here.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right. And got it. Yeah, this is a lovely ornament. This doesn't fit ugly ornament, Ryan. This is thoughtful.
Well, I just think it's sort of ridiculous. It is very thoughtful. It is very thoughtful. It's handmade out of felt and wool.
This makes mine look like a piece of Schmidt.
And it's handmade by these sort of artisans in Kyrgyzstan, which I thought Teddy would really appreciate.
Well, it sounds a lot like Kyrgyzstan, my name. With the Kyrgyzstan is my full name. Kiernan is short for that. And he's lovely. He's in Rough Rider wear. And he's got the traditional large brimmed hat, the bandana around his neck. And I can't say he looks much like a warrior, though. I don't see this guy charging up San Juan Hill.
No, he looks very friendly. I'm just trying to imagine how they explain to these artisans, that work with this Etsy provider. You're going to be manufacturing this little guy. This is Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
It just is very funny. It's like what a weird world we live in.
Well, Ryan, this is sometimes I do feel like you don't totally understand the assignment of Ugly Christmas, because this is a fantastic ornament. I thank you for it. And it's a lovely Etsy shop in total. So we're going to link to it in the show notes. And I'm going to put it next to the other Theodore Roosevelt ornaments. It's almost like it's all you know about me, despite the fact that we talk for over an hour every single week about every aspect of our lives. But, I'll hang it on the tree. I thank you very much. Now, Ryan, do you have there the ornament I sent you?
I do, yeah.
All right. Listen, I went for the real, true, ugly ornament part of this. So why don't you open that up?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a good one, right? Why don't you describe it for the folks?
Well, it's a centaur.
It's not just a centaur. Now, a centaur, of course, the mythical being, half horse, half man, but it's not just a centaur, it's a santar.
Yeah, it's a centaur with Santa as the top half of the horse.
Absolutely. And he's looking fit.
Santa I always thought, because he has that big thick beard and everything, that he would have body hair, but apparently he's just smooth. He's like a swimmer.
He's clean. And he's got some ink done on the arm.
I always imagined that he had some ink.
And a couple of things that I liked about this ornament particularly is, he's traditional Santa. He's got the cap and the beard. But I like that they thought, just to make it clear, we better give him a sign that says Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah.
And I love how glittery his hooves are.
That is nice. Now, would this Santa not need Rudolph anymore? This pretty much makes Rudolph totally irrelevant.
Santa fly his own sleigh?
It seems like it. I mean, certainly could lead. It would not need to sit on the sleigh. I mean, it could really revolutionize the way that Santa gets around.
Now, Ryan,
this is horrifying to children. Can you imagine if you were in a?
It's horrifying to adults.
Yeah, if you were in a mall and you had to take your baby and be like, sit on the centaur Santa's lap, and then
lap? I guess on the back.
And the centaur has to turn around. I don't even think you're supposed to ride a centaur's back. I bet that is not.
It raises a lot of questions.
Yeah.
We'll, of course, post pictures of the ornaments onto the Instagram. We'll provide links. I will say, though, if you're into the Santa Claus and you want it for your own tree, when I bought it, only 2 left. So you better rush.
And that's selling. It is selling fast.
Ryan, our next episode, put out regularly. This one, of course, was a special Christmas episode. We're going to put it out, and it's our year in review.
Year in review, yeah. I mean, this has been a strange year. In our previous ones, we've had a lot of adventures to talk about and a lot of episodes to cover. But we got a lot done this year, despite the pandemic.
Absolutely, and one of the highlights for me is some of the great travel guests that we had over the year. But listen, we got to save it for the next episode. Yeah. So Ryan, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. It is. People are listening to this on Christmas Eve.
So gathered around the fire.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a tradition, not just for us, but for the world.
I agree. Absolutely. Well, until New Year's, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Chris Kringle.
And this is Out of Office, a Christmas travel podcast.
This seat disinfected, Rudolph?
I can just see Rudolph's face as Santa walks in as a centaur, and Rudolph realizes that he's been obsoleted.
Or he's incredibly turned on.
That's true.